Hello everybody, welcome back to yet another episode of Cape Rugby TV here on Cape Town TV, Wednesday at 9 o'clock. Nice to have you along. Tonight is of course a show that is looking forward to next year. Preparation of what you need to do and how you get ready for next season. Obviously you've just come out of a tough club rugby season and you want to know how to get ready for next season. We know some of you guys are going up, some of you going down, but those of you that are going up are certainly going to have to think about what it is to expect for next year. We're going to look tonight with a panel of experts, and let me introduce them to you. As always, Mr. H, Herman Abrams. Hello, Mr. H.
Good evening, JP.
How are things with you?
Oh, I'm fine.
All good, all chirpy?
Yeah.
Steph Toit, conditioning coach, head conditioning coach at Western Province. Nice to have you here.
Hello, JP. How are you?
Good. You've of course been on the show before, so you're no stranger to Cape Rugby TV.
Yeah, good to be back.
And making his debut on the show, long overdue, the infamous Greg Hechter. How's it, Greg?
I don't know about the infamous part, but really nice to be here, JP. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, no, it's good to have you here. And from our point of view, we're of course very excited to have your expertise, all three of you. Mr. H, you from the administration point of view, from Western Province Rugby. Steph, you from a conditioning point of view. And I think, Greg, we're going to talk to you very much from Western Province overall and a strategic point of view and how to plan and that. So, folks, if you're a club out there, hopefully you'll take something from this and get yourself into the preparation and planning mode, and we'll speak to the experts about how to do that, because next year is going to be a monster club rugby season and you want to get ready for that. So without any further ado, Mr. H, let's start with you actually. In actual fact, Greg, Steph, congratulations on your win of the Currie Cup.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We were here last week with the Currie Cup, and we had Jerome and Nazimia and of course Mr. H, and yeah, maybe Greg, quickly from your side, tell us how did it feel to win that cup?
Awesome, but I think if we were on the show last week, we'd be looking considerably worse than we are today. But obviously it's been an 11-year wait, so it's been a really special one, and particularly this year because it was fairly unexpected from people out there, but obviously within the camp we knew that we had a good chance, and it was really exciting to see a plan to come together, and it's I think it's a long time overdue. Yeah. We're really excited about that one, yeah.
Steph, I see they didn't give you guys medals or trophies. They gave you these like beakers. What do they call them? Goblets, beakers?
It was more like a goblet that evening, but they came to good use. It's obviously something that we'll pride for the rest of our lives, and it's going to stand there where you can see it. It was my first one, so quite emotional and really a nice
Did you have a little something out of that?
A little bit of water with something extra.
Because I noticed Dion Ferreira and a couple of players were not kissing the jug; they were literally having a dop out of the Currie Cup. Do the guys actually put some champagne into the Currie Cup?
Yeah, they do.
Bit of champagne, bit of beer. Whatever's going.
whatever's
just a bit of a mix.
Anyway, let's look at the club side of things now. But yeah, fantastic to have South Africa's best team of experts on the show, and will be guiding us a little bit through some of the fundamentals of what you need to do to get ready for next season. But let's start with the administrative side. Mr. H, if we start with you, I mean, we've just come out of the season. I think one of the things that you need before you even start playing the game, start looking at the practical aspects, is you need to have some sort of passion for the game and some sort of vision of where you want to go.
Yes, JP. If you don't have the passion, don't go there.
Yeah.
Because it's all you do it for the love of the game. People say we are mad to do it, but that's what it's about. And club administrators, they don't get paid, so the passion must be there to do what they want to do. And then the vision. If you don't know where you're going to, you can't get there. And if you lack the vision, then you might keep the ship afloat, but you'll never reach the destination there where you want to be.
So you're talking about a ship staying afloat. Then, in terms of a ship staying afloat, you obviously need a good captain. You need a good leadership.
Of course, and the leaders who lack that sense of vision, they may achieve some kind of success, but they will never reach excellence. And we all aim to reach the excellence level. If we don't reach the excellence level, what are you in the game for?
So are we at that stage now? And I think probably this is the kind of question that Stephan and Greg will touch on first, is making sure you've got your management team sorted out before you even get started next year. But from a club point of view, are the clubs, have they finalised their coaches? Do you know? Are there elections? I know Western Province Rugby still has to have an election and the presidency has to be decided on that. But on the club side, are they settled?
A number of clubs would have had their annual general meetings already.
Right.
Some will still have it. But if you are, in the position still where you will have your AGM next year and elect officials, you are years behind time.
Right.
Because you're not going to make it.
So is it fair to say that by now the clubs should all know who their coaches are for next year?
They should. They should. Because those guys must be busy planning. And if you don't, in anything, before you start off, you need to know what went for you last year. If you can't make the analysis and decide what was wrong and what worked for us, then and we've got a simple thing that we give clubs and say, ask these questions. And if you're on par, then you know what you must do.
Greg, let's go to you. And I think we obviously want to do is we want to interpret things from a Stormers or a Western Province point of view down to a club level. But I suppose the fundamentals are the same. You've just come out of a season. What is the first thing that you do after the season, knowing that now in the club space you've got 4 months ahead of you? Mr. H was talking about evaluating. In your terms, how would you translate that?
I think 100%, JP. I think the fundamentals, like you said, are exactly the same. And I'd like to sort of broaden on that as a member of the coaching team at Stormers and Western Province Rugby. I'm sure the planning and preparation that we do going into the new season would be the same at club level. And the first thing you mentioned was evaluate. And I look at it as two things. One, evaluate your own organisation, us as a team. Where are we? What are our strengths and weaknesses? And what do we need to improve on going into the next season? Bearing in mind for us, it's a Super Rugby tournament. Secondly, what do top teams do? Top organisations in your setup, whether it's a club league or for us, we'd like to see that we are the top team in Super Rugby. So we don't want to reinvent the wheel. So two things in terms of evaluation, if I can sum it up, is evaluate yourself, your team, your organisation, where do we need to go? Mr. H mentioned if you don't have a vision, if you don't know where you're going, you're not going to get there. I like to think if you fail to plan, you probably plan to fail. And then the second thing is look at what the top teams in that setup are doing and learn from them.
But now, how important is it that, do you think there's other teams out there keeping an eyeball on what you guys are doing?
Without a doubt. If I can use a practical example, the Lions, obviously they had a change of coach post Super Rugby with John Mitchell not being involved, but they played really much Stormers rugby, which was successful rugby in the Super Rugby tournament in the Currie Cup. They started kicking a lot more, they made a lot less errors in their own half, and they played a lot more sort of conservative rugby as we were tagged that in Super Rugby. But in saying that, it was winning rugby. And it was a tough team to crack up at Coca-Cola Park, and we're lucky to do that in the semi-final.
So when you're in your evaluation phase now, Steph, let's go to you now. I think we get closer now in terms of the players. If anything, I think probably you get more player TV time than the players themselves. we see you a bit more than the rest of the guys. But now you come out of the last game, you're a club. What is the first thing that you start looking at?
I think just to touch on what Greg said is you need to evaluate, and I think for clubs they need to evaluate which players will probably stay with them. Those players then, what we would do is we put them through medical evaluations and physiotherapy evaluations. Then we need to act upon those results that we get from it. So in order for those players to play for us next year, it's not always the physical testing that we do with them post-season, but more the medical assessments that we do and to sort out small niggles and act upon it, either surgical or with rehab, physiotherapy, biokineticist, trainer, etc. And that needs to happen in quite a short space of time.
Mr. H, how many of the clubs, in Steph's situation and with Greg, the Stormers, the Western Province players are contracted. They're contracted for a period of time. They know who their squad is now already. Obviously, they start their first matches much earlier than the clubs. At which stage do the clubs know who their team is going to be? When in terms of maybe even the registration phase, how long does that period take? When do the guys get ready?
Yeah, well, I must say I've been to a few of these, end of year functions of clubs.
Yeah.
And I will always hear the chairman would announce, guys, party tonight. Remember, in 2 weeks' time, we start our training. So there's a lot of guys that are busy.
Yeah.
And they probably, the better organized clubs, they already know, who's there, who they've set their eyes on people that they want to get into the club, and they're working on all their plans.
Yeah.
Slowly, perhaps not, and then they'll take a break just over the holiday period, and they'll come back again.
So they sort of stabilize. So those coaches can already be looking at those players and going, okay, you've got a knee problem, you've got a back problem, you're a little bit. Steph, let's go to you. I was about to say you're a bit overweight, you're a bit underweight in the club space. I know that in the club space we've got a couple of players who are a little bit overweight, but nevertheless, I'm sure that they, they'll be enjoying their 50th birthday party soon. So, at which stage do you start hitting the gym in terms of the off-season, pre-season, and so forth?
Well, for us, we do it quite quickly after their break. Of course, it's important for us to give the players a medical and then an emotional, mental and physical rest.
Yeah.
We take between a 3 to 4 week post-season break, which is compulsory for the players, and then we start testing, physical testing.
Yeah.
We do cardiovascular testing, and then we put them through about a 3 to 4 week. This year it will only be 3 weeks, about 3.5 weeks. Last year it was 4 weeks because we fell out slightly earlier. We put them through that period of really tough training, 2 sessions a day, 5 days a week for 4 weeks.
When you say tough training, if we break this down to the clubs, they basically are back on the field in what 4 months' time? Is it fair to say that their holiday period should be over in the next 2 weeks or so, and then after that it's time to hit the gym?
I think the big mistake they often make is that there's a lot of expectancy, and they start hitting the gym, in my viewpoint, probably too early.
Yeah.
You need to get away from the game and give yourself that break, because when they get through the season, 6 months down the line, they're emotionally drained, and they look back and they see, I actually didn't have a holiday, I didn't enjoy myself, and now the emotional negative side of it really takes a big side of their life, where they could have been well rested out, and then you hit the weights, you do your cardiovascular work, because I feel the improvements there can be a lot quicker than the negative side of not getting enough rest. I would definitely take a month off away from rugby. You can always get fitter, stronger, leaner, but if you start, where are you going to get the rest from?
Greg, if I talk to you about that from a recovery point of view, Steph talks about it very much now from a physical point of view, and he touched on the mental aspect. How much impact does the mental aspect have in terms of the strategic planning for you guys for next year? I mean, you're also the kicking coach, which means you've got to work with players like Peter Grant and Katrakilis and so forth, who really have to have a fair amount of brains in terms of the game. How important is mental recovery?
No, massive. Obviously, at the high level, I think it's even more so in terms of the exposure to sort of a pressure game for 11 months of the year. So that is very important, and I think Steph's 100% right that if you don't recover, you can't get that time back, and you utilize that 3 to 4 week recovery period really well. Obviously, us in terms of a coaching team, we get together, and our second step is to plan and to have a look at how we want to play next year. And there's obviously, all your evaluation, your strengths and weaknesses that you've looked at will come into plan as you start working out your new strategy for the next season. Once you've worked that out, then obviously you can start working with the players in terms of the fundamental skills that they need to improve in the off season.
So Steph, you go back to the gym side. How do you know? How do you know when you've rested enough? And then how hard do you hit the gym? Because there was this old school training a few years back of people just doing training on those preggy balls and elastic bands and stuff like that. But they did seem to come a little bit of, it's back to old school, hardcore bench press, hardcore squat, put on the weight, as much weight as you can off season, because come game time, there's no chance to put it back on.
I think within the rugby setup worldwide, things are changing every now and again. 2-3 years, and a lot of what is happening now is guys are moving away from really tough physical workouts, exactly what you mentioned. And sometimes we call it pie in the sky because it's about training. Don't want to mention any exercise regimes, but training in this way where the trend has always showed us to follow this route. And we of the belief that if you've got the perfect chocolate cake, don't change too many ingredients that it becomes a fruit cake. And I think we've fallen into the trap before that we might have thought that is the end goal, but with the last 3-4 years, I think we've within the limits that we've got with rest and work, we found our mix of when you need to start after exactly X amount of weeks that you're off. But I still believe getting to the gym, there's a force curve that you need to try and beat.
What do you mean by a force curve? We're talking here hardcore bench press, hardcore squatting. I mean, there must be a stage, surely, during this post or off-season stuff that you stress the body as much as possible to gain as much weight as you can. How do you mean by this curve of yours? I think just going one step back is, Greg mentioned it earlier, is that the trainer, myself, and the coach or the coaches need to be in the same frame of mind. And if I think a player needs to be heavy and they think he needs to be lean and quick, then we will always be on different wavelengths. Different paths, But in saying that, if it is then to make a player heavy, rugby is still a contact sport. Defensive systems are becoming better. The attack is getting less space. Now it's not about running around guys, but running over them and trying to achieve a player, or achieve a stage of a player's career where he's as strong as he can be, agile, quick, fit, more a complete athlete than just being strong or just being fast. And that, I think, is where we all need to go and where we're chasing answers. I think we're getting closer to that, but it's still getting into the gym, hitting the weights, increasing your force, velocity curves, lifting heavy weights as quickly as you can. Mr. H, a lot of very fancy terminology here. Velocity curves. Sounds like something like a workout you get at a motor car shop.
I was just thinking the fruitcakes are probably those guys that run up and down, the coaches, you still get those coaches.
We just give them one channel to run the
up and down along the field, shouting instructions as if they were never at the training field.
Mr. H, what sort of training did you do back in your day? Was it
we used to run 25 times around the field, squat jumps, and and what's it, duck walking, star jumps, all that, and then you go home.
Greg, I think one thing though, whether it's star jumps or running 25 times around the field, Steph made a big point there, saying if it works for you, don't change it. And if that's worked for you to get your club up to the next level, probably 80% of what you're doing is right anyway. Look for that extra 20%. And that's what he meant with the fruitcake, is often you get you see an advert on TV to take a new supplement, or you say that this guy's doing a different exercise, that's what he must do. And you actually go away from what's worked for you. And in our organization, over the last 4 years, even though this trophy is probably the first major one, we've been fairly successful in terms of getting to playoff stages. And that was one thing that we did stick to, is what is working for us in terms of our conditioning plan, our recovery plan, our medical plan, as well as our coaching plan. We stuck to where we knew we were weak because of a good evaluation process. We went and looked for either new personnel or new coaching strategies, or in terms of conditioning, we did things slightly different. So I think that's the key.
Is there a risk factor out there that is almost like a dangerous situation? I mean, in this case, for example, you guys, you've been, from a nutrition point of view, you've used Evox for a long time. That's your supplement. You know what it is. You know the quality. You know how safe it is. Yeah. It's a big risk to move away from something like that, and you don't know what you're going to get, or even what you might get at a later stage that it kicks in later.
Yeah. Definitely don't want Skalkberger being the next Lance Armstrong, do we?
No. Well, I don't know. With Skalkberger, you're quite safe because I believe it's just red wine and steak.
That's
and a couple of beers, don't worry.
A couple of beers. But of course, when you've got a guy like that, you're blessed to have those kind of genetics. I mean, it's an absolute bonus in any team.
Yeah, of course. I think the thing with Scala is that he looks, and not just him, but there's a lot of guys that I feel are born to play rugby. And that is probably the key, is that that's their God-given talent. They realize that, and that's what they do. And Scala's injury was a freak. If you look at it again, I mean, it will happen once in a million times where he gets tackled like that with his stats getting stuck into to the ground. If it was 1 or 2 centimeters to the left or right, he probably would have stood up and carried on. But I mean, just one of those things that happen.
Yeah, talk about people standing up and carrying on. Yeah, Scott Berger certainly is the kind of guy who does. We look forward to seeing him back on the park next year. Very unfortunate situation, but that is part of pro rugby as well. You've got to learn how to manage those injuries and come back. And then maybe in some cases, a year is only a blip in some players' careers. For a guy like Schalk, he's been out before. Jean de Villiers been out before. He was even out at one stage for, I think, a year or odd, and look where he is now. Is there a way of the body maturing as well, that it learns to deal with tackles and injuries, Steph?
Yeah, I think there's a guy like Paddy Upton who's moved into the mental side of sport with cricket. He's mentioned before that one of the 20 types of intelligence is contact intelligence.
Yeah.
And we call it being street smart. And there's obviously, when you get older, different things happen a little bit slower.
Yeah.
But guys like Dwayne Vermeulen, when he got injured against the Cheetahs, what was it, last year or earlier in his career, he said he couldn't do it any other way in that situation, even though he's been in that situation 1,000 times.
Yeah.
So it's about being street smart, and just one other thing is that if you've got the same squad from this year to next year, that squad is actually not the same, because the guy that was young is a year older, the guy that was old is now also a year older, and he might be going downhill physically where another guy might be maturing. So we need to keep that in mind.
How much tougher, Mr. H, how much tougher will it be for the clubs this year that are going from one league up to the next league? We heard Gerd Rademan from Goodwood say it so nicely not so long ago that he felt that for Goodwood playing against Helderberg on that day, and they were one league up and one league down, but he felt that for them playing in that higher division, everything was 5 meters faster, 10 kilos heavier, and it was quite a step up, and that one does need to plan for almost like a next level. How much harder will it be for the clubs this year? Because not only are we seeing that clubs are going to a different league, but also that all 90 clubs have actually improved in their rugby significantly. So the standard has come up, but they're also going to another league.
Yeah, no, it's important for the guys to understand that when you go up, you might have won all your games, but you might lose all your games in the next division. So it's, unless you adapt and unless you are prepared and you've planned properly, you are going to find yourself.
So otherwise, you're going to find yourself, it's like repeating standard 9, but you're actually going to matric. You find yourself in an awkward spot. So you need to be planning ahead next year, folks. Some of you that are going up, you're going to put yourself in a situation that things are going to be a little bit heavier, a little bit faster, and you need to start preparing yourself for what is going to come next year. Sort of upskill yourself as opposed to last year.
But going down also, you might be complacent and thinking, we've been up here, we're coming down here. These guys, we can easily beat them. It doesn't work like that. Those guys are just as keen to get out there and go above you. So be prepared, whether you go up or whether you go down.
All right, well, talk about clubs then coming up. Be prepared. Steph, Greg, you guys worried about the Kings coming up? Don't worry about answering that question. We'll leave that.
You won't be complacent, JP.
You won't be complacent. But yeah, anyway, folks, let's take a look at some of the questions that you sent in on the social media. Of course, you can find us on Twitter at Cape Rugby TV or on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Cape Rugby TV. Questions coming in then. Nice question here from Fahim Naidu. If you guys want to go to other clubs, why is it always an issue to go buy clubs to give these guys clearances? The problem is there's no law that you can use against whatever. Okay, this is kind of hard to decipher that text there, Mr. H. If clear the question is something you've got to do with registrations and clearances, and I can't read that. Registrations and clearances, if you want to move from one club to another, what is the procedure?
Simple. You must write a letter to your club where you belong to and ask for your clearance certificate.
Fahim is referring here to some difficulties clearly that he's had from an administrative point of view.
In the bylaws of the union says no club may withhold a player's clearance certificate.
Right.
So you must issue the clearance certificate.
So it's purely up to the administrative level at club level.
Yeah, but you...
And then must apply to Western
They
Province.
must understand, you know, you must write a letter to ask for your clearance. You can't go stand on the field and ask for your clearance certificate.
Okay, so proper procedures must be followed in terms of you, the player, asking your club to let you go.
And then if you have a problem that the club don't want to give it, you bring the letter that you gave them to the office, and the office will then try
the office being the Western Province Union offices. How long am I registered at a club for? If I play for you today, 5 years ago, when can I, do I need to ask you?
You stay registered.
I stay registered?
Yeah.
But I haven't played for you for 5 years. I must come back to you and ask you to let me go?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all
Unless the club has
that.
taken you off and we don't find any record of you.
Plans.
Right.
You can go
What's that, Steph?
You got plans to make a comeback?
Yeah, no.
Isn't there an age limit at club rugby?
Listen, I won't be making a comeback there, but you're talking about players being street smart. Obviously, I come from a different type of sport. So I'm just going to ask you about this from a physical contact point of view. And you mentioned this. And I'll throw this at both of you guys. Certainly in the world of boxing, the world of judo, martial arts and so forth, you learn to take contact. You learn how to roll with a punch, you learn how to roll with a throw, you learn how to fall, and all of those things, in actual fact, is very good for kids because they learn how to prevent injury. Do the players in the rugby field start learning that type of conditioning where they understand how to take a knock, how to breathe when they take a knock, how to rotate when they take a knock?
I think there's two sides to it, right? So one, obviously, when you're in your contact sport, your first thing you do is you make sure you're properly conditioned for it, and that's away from the game. It might be in a gym, it might be wherever, in a studio, if you're doing Pilates or whatever the case may be, in a boxing studio. The second thing is you actually do the sport and you do fundamental skills in whether it's a jab, punch. I don't know, I'm getting your field, but we'll do breakdown skills or tackle technique, which is smaller controlled, and you build it up until eventually you're doing mini games and a full game.
Yeah.
So
how do you find the balance? How do you find the balance between all the rugby stuff where you actually have to focus on hand skills and passing, and that what you mentioned now, sort of the off-field stuff, and then of course your personal time of gym and training and stuff like that? How do you get the players' time management right?
I think the key is to get it right in the off-season, and now's the time to make sure that the guy is strong enough so that when you introduce the ball or the tackle bag or the opponent later on in your off-season or pre-season, that his conditioning is done. And that's where, like Steph said, if he hasn't recovered and he's now doing off-season on the basis of an injury or a niggle, he's going to pick up problems when you add that load in the off-season. However, if he's fully recovered and you've got a healthy athlete there and he's got 4, 5 or 6 weeks ideally, and he really trains hard and he gets nice and strong and fit in the gym, then when you start introducing the skill component, the tackle bag or the bodysuit, etc., then you get good results in terms of developing that fundamental skill. And in us, obviously, the collisions are getting bigger and bigger each year. The guys, Ibn Etzebeth, 21 years old, you wouldn't see a 21-year-old looking like that 5, 6 years ago. And you're expecting to play against like Ibn Etzebeth in your position too. And those two guys running into each other is a fair collision.
Right, Mr. H, we're talking here, Greg and I was talking a lot about the fact that you have got players and are preparing off season, but it seems to be at a fairly high level here. We're talking about players that have to go to gym, they've got to find time. Club level is obviously difficult. People are working during the day, but are we seeing even club rugby players moving into a space that this kind of information from the Western Province space is beneficial, that they can start applying it, even though not everything is practical, because time is a factor, and I think time is probably the biggest issue for any player. Are we seeing the club slowly migrate to that it's not just Saturday rugby anymore?
Oh yes. If you look at, let's take a club like Silurians for instance. They're not in the Super League, A or B, they're in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And if you look at what they did in the club, the people that they appoint, the people that they get to play for the club, then you can see, what is happening in club rugby.
Yeah.
It's not only at the top 10 where we have the virtually professional guys coaching. It's going down, and the guys are improving their skills. They are doing courses. They are getting better equipped to do the job. And the players themselves because of the coach now knows what is required. So they go to gyms, they do all kinds of things that improve. And if you look at previously, I think a few years ago, conditioning was a word that wasn't known.
It's something you used in your hair.
If you had.
If you had it.
And you know, gym work was for a few special people.
Yeah.
But now it's become part of the...
So, I mean, this just goes to emphasize again why it's so important for us to use the knowledge from a club point of view of the guys here.
Exactly. I think, you know, we are so blessed and so we can't, the club players, if they listen to what is offered here for people, from people that are the champion, they work with the champions of South Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then what more do you want?
On that note, Greg, how important is the management team, the relationship between the management team? I mean, you've got leadership there of Alistair Coetzee that's obviously surpassed expectation, not expectation, but it's surpassed anyone else in South Africa in terms of how to bring a team together and win the trophy and come out as the best. You've got great other management team around you like Robbie Fleck and Matthew Proudfoot, and the two of you, and not to mention, of course, the rest of the team is an enormously big team, but how important is it for the management team to gel?
I think that's a massive point you made there, JP, and that's something that we've found is, you know, especially at our level, top teams are all doing similar things in the gym or coaching-wise, even strategy-wise, very similar. But what Alistair has managed to do really successfully with us is bring that group together. And you said we've got 11 on the management team and we've got a squad of 30-odd players. Is to make that team a family, and that's where he's really good at that. He listens to each person, whether you're in the team, whether you're injured, whether you're the captain or the cutting the oranges at half time. And the same with the management team. And you know, people throw words around like team spirit and culture, etc. But that's one thing we've found that we've started to work on really, you know, closely. We are, you know, varied bunch in Cape Town, you know, different backgrounds, and it's often been tough in the past to pull everyone together and be focused on the same vision and same plan. And I think Alistair's really managed to do that. And, you know, we use the word family and love, but that's exactly how we feel for each other. And that's important, I think, in those dark moments in a Currie Cup final when you're defending your line with a lot of people in Cape Town hoping you bring that beautiful trophy back. Those are the things that get you through. It's more than just the strategy or that last bench press that you did. It's actually about what you feel for each other within the group. And hopefully we can build on that.
You know, I find it almost emotional to hear you say that, because in the club rugby space, that's what club rugby is about. There's no money. You only play for the community. You play for the love of the game. It's pride. You play for the pride. Mr. H, would you agree with me that they've almost got an advantage over the difficulties of professional rugby? At club level, you are playing for the family. You're playing for because your mom or your dad played for this club. It's a different type of passion.
It is a different type of passion, and it's something that, you know, if the management builds on it, and they, you know, I've been busy with SA Rugby about training. They're going to do a thing called Club Smart, and the whole project is, when I listen there, the communication. You know, if we don't talk to one another, if the coach doesn't know what the chairman actually wants out of the players, if the players don't know what the coach wants, you know, if that kind of communication is not there, then, you know, everything falls flat. And it's so important that the clubs work on that strategy.
Yeah.
You know, the communication strategy of the club is probably more important than anything else that is available.
Well, hopefully with a bit of leadership from Western Province Rugby, and if you guys go to the media seminars, and I believe there is going to be one more media seminar, you will learn more about the communication strategy at Western Province Rugby. So pay attention to when we do that next media seminar. That's of course going to help you wrap up the year in preparation for next year, not only about how to communicate with the clubs and your players and the administrative side of things, but also how to get prepped right now before it's too late to get yourself sponsorship for next year. So critically important that you keep yourself in the mix for that. So look out for the final media seminar for 2012. Going to be very important. Let's go back to the social media questions that came in, and then we'll take an ad break. Mark Anthony Fletcher, discuss the new scrumming law for next year. Will the clubs adapt? Greg, I suppose between you and Steph, the scrumming law, maybe you can fill us in on that.
Yeah, basically instead of the crouch, touch, pause, engage thing, I think they've shortened it to crouch, touch. I don't know what the word is, hit or no. That's only a 3 instead of a 5-tier or 5-step process. It's a 3-step process. They've done it quite successfully in the RTM Cup in New Zealand, and also you know, the Heineken Cup games or Premiership that you see on TV. So I don't think it's going to be a major influence. Hopefully it does help, because there's been an unbelievable amount of reset scrum. So
if I remember correctly, I heard something about it's crouch, touch, and then it's got something to do with the alignment. They want to get the alignment right first before they engage, so that the clubs, even though there's a 3-phase...
that'll happen before the crouch even. The alignment, then it'll be crouch, touch, hit, or crouch, I can't remember the third word.
So there's really, you don't think there's going to be any impact?
No, I think obviously
there'll be a scrumming impact, but I mean...
In terms of your coaching, your preparation, you have to prepare a little bit of a timing issue. End of the day, it's still about that timing issue.
Right.
It's a shorter process, so...
Okay, so we're not really going to see any huge law changes. It's purely a technical kind of aspect.
I still believe all scrum infringements must be short arm penalty, free kick.
An immediate free kick?
Yeah.
Short arm?
Yeah, not a penalty, because I think most of the time it's the opposite. The ref
it's almost impossible to guess what exactly went wrong.
I mean, I looked at a video the other day again of our match, where Beast's hand is on the ground, and we get penalized. Well, surely he should have been penalized first.
Unfortunately, with most of the game, even if we go to the breakdown, there's so many things that a ref has to look to. He can penalize any number of players at any given time, so it is a bit of luck of the draw. And one thing we're lucky,
penalty, it's fine, but I don't think
that was quite good about winning the Currie Cup, when most of the calls did go against us, Mr. H.
One for you, one for me.
I got a feeling old Beast was reaching for his razor there when he was going down there. But anyway, folks, it is time for us to take an ad break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Greg Hechter, Stephan Toit from the Stormers and Western Province Rugby, and of course Mr. H is going to update us a little bit more on the administrative side. We'll be back with you guys in a moment.
Get so much more for so much less at Tata Westenburg. Buy an Indica Vista Ego from $9.99 per month with a 3-year 100,000 kilometer warranty, 4 years 100,000 kilometer service plan, 3 years unlimited roadside assistance, and more. To find out more, SMS the word Tata to 33280 and one of our service consultants will be in touch with you shortly.
Tata is a good buy for sure.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Cape Rugby TV here on Wednesdays at 9 o'clock. Nice to have you along. Of course, on the show with me this evening is from Western Province, Greg Hechter, Stephan Toit and Herman Abrams. Next week we'll be taking a look at some of the elections. Mr. H, next week we'll know who the nominees are for various elective processes at Western Province.
Yeah, it's the executive that will be elected.
Right.
It's the president, the deputy president, the vice president, and then 8 executive members, additional executive members.
And this happens every 2 years?
Every 2 years.
Okay, and we'll find out more about that next week, folks, when we'll know who those various officials are and who the candidates are up for a nomination. As you know, it was the Super Brew competition for the last couple of days, or at least should I say the last couple of months. It was pretty tight. We had more than 1,000 Super Brew members joining the Cape Rugby TV pool over the last season, enjoying the predictive games in the Currie Cup space, and without us having to chase him down, he managed to track us down. Our Super Brew winner, Fritz de Kock.
Hello everybody, it's Morgan Newman from Cape Rugby TV. As you may know, after 4 months of Currie Cup Rugby and score predictions, it's finally time for us to announce Fritz de Kock as our Cape Rugby TV winner for 2012. Fritz, congratulations. You must be excited.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm very excited. It was very good pool, and yeah, like I said, the prize is worth it.
You want to share your secret with us for the year?
Yeah, well, just going for gut, backing Province probably all the way, and yeah, I've ended up first.
Well, congratulations. Let me hand over your signed DHL Western Province Rugby jersey. There you see it, folks. Thank you to the guys at Evox Advanced Nutrition for supplying us with the jersey. Fritz, excited? Are you going to find a special place in the home for it?
Definitely. I'm very excited. It's going to be a pride and joy of me. I'm very chuffed.
And any tips for the guys looking forward to next year?
Don't win me. No, just go with your gut, and if you think Province is down, they do get up.
Well, there you have it, folks. Congratulations once again to Fritz the Cook, our winner of our Cape Rugby TV Super Brew Pool for 2012. For more, catch us on Cape Rugby TV every Wednesday night at 9 o'clock. See you guys then. Bye-bye.
There you go, folks. Morgan Newman smiling as big as a Cheshire cat, giving away that signed, which is of course now very valuable, signed Western Province jersey, courtesy of the guys at Evox Advanced Nutrition. Greg, you must like to hear that. Super Brew winner saying when you think Western Province is down, this is him now giving the method of how you win Super Brew. It says just stick with your team and they will come back.
Yeah, I suppose that's the type of supporters we're fortunate to have in the Western Cape. It's a special team to obviously represent and to work for, and lots of supporters like that out there. It's good to see.
Mr. H, those jerseys, signed jerseys, they're worth quite a bit now.
Yeah, now it's it's a collector's item.
Yeah.
I don't know, these guys probably planning to be the champions again next year. But for the rest of the year, until the final next year, we are the champions.
We are the champions, yeah, absolutely. Of course, that's what you want to stay now, folks, is you really now want to stay a Western Province supporter. And what I love about it is that now finally Western Province has got like bragging rights, like Liverpool, that they're the best rugby team, and now the best, almost like Liverpool's the best soccer team, if you know what I mean. Mr. H, you love that, eh?
Yeah, I love that. Liverpool. They are the, I mean, let's face it.
They are the best soccer
there
team
are
in the
some
world.
other soccer clubs that are also aspiring to reach that height.
That level, yeah. Folks, listen, it's time for us, of course, to say thanks to our sponsors, Evox Advanced Nutrition, who did give away that signed jersey courtesy of, for the Super Brew competition. And it is now time for you to win yourself, and falling in line with what Western Province Rugby guys are talking about, and there you see Evox behind me right now. Falling in line with that, it's the before, the during, and the after opportunity for you to win for yourself a full pack, getting yourself ready for club rugby for next year. So, without any further ado, this is the before. This is the super carbo. This is what you want to put yourself in the mix to win for now. Super carbo. This is what you're going to take. This is the during. Steph, you guys use this during, right?
Yeah, we often.
Super carbo.
Yeah.
Let's try that at you. See what you think of that. Is that the original thing?
I know it quite well. Yeah.
You know it quite well.
Nice new label.
How often do you guys use it from a player perspective?
Yeah, we use it quite often, and especially in the gym, we probably go for the side to crank before
let me give you that one.
sessions.
Is that it?
Yeah, more often the side to crank.
When would you use the side to crank from a before point of view?
Shucks, we use the side to crank. If I'm correct in saying that, is just a new name for another product which we used to use before. The Cytovox.
Yes, it's the new. Yeah.
Yeah. So. We use it. We used to use it only during, before, during, and post matches. Yeah. Now we've combined it with our gym sessions, and we put it out there for players to mix in their bottles before they hit the gym, and then they take it either before and during, and then obviously afterwards they use the other supplements that they've got from Evox. So it's a good product for us. We go through tubs and tubs of these.
So you'll use the cider crank before training.
Yeah.
Before gym, before
gym, definitely.
Before matches?
Before matches, yes.
And then you'd use the super carbo as a energy drink, sort of during practice, stuff like that.
Yeah, and we've mixed both. We've mixed it before. Yeah. We play around with a couple of things.
Around with it,
we found that in their individual components, they're better to use. Yeah. We use the Sato crank probably 60% of the time, and then we use the the super carbo for the other 40. But it comes down to individual taste as well, because the players, for them, and I think that's the key, which Greg also mentioned earlier, is that you can't throw everything at all the players. You need to individualize slightly, and that's what I think we've got right.
Right, then let's just ask you about the rapid recovery. This is probably, would you say recovery, look, I mean, we always say recovery is the most important thing. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's probably the one thing we often get wrong, is that mostly after field sessions, players just want to get home, or they just want to go elsewhere or go to a meeting or do stuff. And I think it's to replenish what you've used. And if you can get that right, you've won the battle halfway at least.
Right, guys, you can slide those back to me. And of course, folks, yeah, you just
What's that?
This is playing, it's like playing carom board. Okay, so the Evox product sliding across the desk here. There you've got your before, your during, and your after, and you can put yourself in the mix to win these products, and you can see them in there. Right, folks, the other product that's just come out now from Evox, and Steph, you said this is another product that you use, is the ready-to-drinks. These are available, of course, in store, but these little shakes, easy to drink, easy to consume, pre-mixed, important for the players?
Yeah, we fly all over the world, and just not worldwide, but also locally, and we need to get something that's convenient for us to travel with. And
yeah.
I think Evox, with them being on board, they've made our lives a lot easier with that, with those RTDs, the protein shakes. It's a necessity for us after matches. It's compulsory for the players to take, and we've used it for a while. Yeah,
so folks, here you can see it. There's the actual the protein shake, little ready to drink. They abbreviated as RTDs. You can see it here in my hand right now, and they're available and convenient. So as used by the Stormers. So why don't you pop out there and get that? There you can see it on the screen right now. Okay, so if you want to win for yourself this Evox hamper, 33280, and you put yourself in the mix to win this product. Last week's winner, congratulations to Gavin Tate. Gavin wins for himself that before, during and after hamper, the Saito crank, the Super Carbo, and the Rapid Recovery. Congratulations, Gavin. You are this week's Evox winner. Right, folks, for those of you that want to, of course, know what's happening in the Springbok side, it is time for us to quickly have a look at the fixtures for the Boks coming up this weekend. Let's see who they're up against. This Saturday, it's Ireland against South Africa at the Aviva Stadium. Then next Saturday, we see Scotland take on South Africa, and it's England and South Africa. Greg, you guys must be proud to have some of the boys in the team.
Yeah, definitely well deserved, and I think the guys will do well. It'll be a tough tour after a long season, but it's always good to have a few province players in the mix.
Is it disruptive for you, Steph, or do you guys get through are you so used to it now that you know some of your Boks are going to be away for a couple of weeks and then they'll come back?
I think they Springboks, because they live their lives like Springboks, so they probably the least of our worries.
Yeah.
We need to give them a compulsory break. It's always a tough ball to gamble with, because we need to get them right for Super Rugby. And I think the key for us, and funny enough, John got injured now with a soft tissue 2 weeks ago, but a guy like him last year had a complete off-season with us, pre-season with us, and he was actually injury-free for most of the season, except for the injury he picked up on Super Rugby Tour, which was not soft tissue or not something from overuse. And in saying that, those Springboks, we've got a specific plan for them, and the key for us is not to throw them in too early, to make sure they're well prepared, but also in saying that, to give them ample rest and to make sure they recovered for our season.
All right, there you go, folks. So yeah, I like the way that Steph phrased that. Those Springboks, they know what they're doing. They're in good hands. So sort of like the least of your worries. They're going to come back and they're going to add some more value back to the team, hopefully. Well, not hopefully, I mean obviously, because they would have gone also have learned more. That's what I mean.
Just the way they conduct themselves.
Yeah.
I've always said that when I started getting into the system is you start working with Springboks and then you immediately realize why they're Springboks.
Yeah.
And I think if a lot of guys, even from club level, there have been players coming through. A guy like Francois Lowe was sitting with his crutches, with his foot in a moon boot from under 21 level in the rain, coming from a club, waiting for his chance with Province under 21, and now eventually he's a Springbok.
Yeah.
There are ample guys that one can probably use in that regard, and that's just the way they live their lives.
Okay, and finally, Mr. H, if we can just touch on some of the administrative details.
If you ask yourself those questions, you can judge where you are. Have you become complacent? Do we still understand and respect the duties of one another? In club rugby, the worst things is when people start arguing about whose job is it and who was supposed to do it. And, do we still cover the needs of our club? You know? Do we analyze what we've planned regularly? Don't wait till the end of the year to say, oh, but we never did this. You know, you must do it regularly. And do you inspire the people around you? You as the leader, you must inspire people. You make them enthusiastic of what they must do. And so you can go on, you know. And again, communication and are the best people in the positions. You know, it's not just because it's my family club, I must be the chairman. Is the best person the chairman? Is the best person the coach?
Who decides at the club who's the best man for the job?
The players.
The players.
The players normally. You have at the AGM, all the members, you know, they do the...
They can vote for the chairman and the committee and so forth. And on a final note, you mentioned you got to start looking at your goals for next year.
Yeah, and see how far are we away from our goals.
Right.
And are these goals achievable? You know, it's not sense in saying we want to win or every game must with a bonus point and all the scores must be above. You must have realistic goals that is achievable so that after the first month you can say, well, we have achieved this, you know, and then say, guys, we're on the right track.
So a lot more strategic thinking. Let's quickly have a look at that slide one more time, folks, and what you'll see on your screen right now. The questions that you need to be asking yourself are, have you become complacent? Do you still understand and respect the duties of each administrator? Do your collective inputs cover the needs of the clubs? Are you ahead of those around you? Are you innovative and inspirational? Do you analyze your own contribution, commitment, and dedication on a regular basis? Does your enthusiasm rub off on the rest? Is your communication with the rest of the club perfect? Do you still have the best man for the job? And of course, have you achieved your goals? Well, there you go. Those are your key points from an administrative point of view that you need to be considering for next year. And quite frankly, those checklist probably isn't very far off what the guys from Western Province have been talking to us about. Greg Hechter, head conditioning coach, kicking coach, assistant coach at Western Province Rugby. It's been a real pleasure having you on the show. It's long overdue, and we hope to see you on the show a lot more in the future.
My pleasure, Japes. Really enjoyed being here. Thank you very much, and good luck to everyone out there as they start their preparations for what will be a super year next year.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it's going to be very exciting. And Steph, we look forward to more from you guys. And you know, as I said, we've seen you on the show before. The way we can get the camera out there and watch how you mess some of the boys up on the side of the field.
Always interesting. Most hated person for a couple of weeks in the year, but. That's the job. If you're not hated, you're not doing your job right.
Do you guys think we should do a club rugby idols where we bring some of the club players out and see if they can hit the standards of the professionals?
It'll be fun to watch.
It'll be good.
It'll be challenging.
It'll be interesting.
You never know who you might unearth out there. You know, I'm sure there's a lot of talent.
Yeah, you might discover a gem, the Idols gem, and your prize will be 12 weeks of hell. And Mr. H, we'll of course look next week at the various elective and administrative stuff at the union, but. Thank you very much from your side. I think from an administrative point of view, the clubs have got a bit of guidance in terms of what it is that they should be looking at for next year.
Thanks, and congratulations to Sia Kulisi for receiving a Young Player of the Year award. That comes from via the Department of Sport. You remember where we were? And then from there he was nominated for Western Cape, and from Western Cape to South African. So it's great.
Well, there you go, Sia Kulisi, Sportsman of the Year. Sorry, Heineke, if you're watching the show right now, you might want to pick up on that one. For the rest, gentlemen, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, JP.
Sorry, I just had to throw that in there. Select more Western Province players for being Springboks. That's a wrap from me. We'll see you guys next week, same time, same place. Have a fantastic sporting weekend and back the box this weekend. Even if you're watching Heine Kameo on the Heine Cam, which I see now is not a walkie-talkie anymore, it's a small little microphone. Have a great weekend, bye-bye.